Hey yo, welcome back to AIW's The Card is Going to Change. My name is Ronald Two Legs, and as always, I am joined by AIW owner John Thorne. What's up, Thorne?
I'm here. Had a little late start because Devon Dudley called me right when we were getting ready to press record.
Does that never get old to you that you just have all these like wrestling legends just like calling you up out of nowhere all the time?
If you saw my two most recent calls, it's pretty laughable. Which won't spoil yet, but the original person that I thought would be perfect for June 17th in Youngstown at the Westside Bowl is now trying to get back in. So that might be a double meet and greet situation on June 17th. We're trying to work out a deal here because the prior commitment has fallen through. So now they're trying to get back in, but, you know, we booked Carlito, so there's a lot of negotiating going on tonight. So and these are all phone call guys, so lots of phone calls for me tonight.
That's something that's like a common thread with guys kind of from that era, you know, older guys, they want to talk on the phone, they're not much text guys.
Yes, a lot of them are half and half now, you know, like they'll text you. But sometimes they just want to, you know, they really want to iron out the details on the telephone.
When it's time to get to the heart of the matter, you're saying?
Yeah, I like texts or emails because there's just traceable, you know what I mean? There's nothing's up for interpretation when it's in writing like that.
Right.
But, you know, some people are phone call guys. We had a couple phone call guys this week, which I'm sure we'll get into.
As always, I want to thank our sponsors, The Exchange. We appreciate their sponsorship. Check out The Exchange. As we've said before, plenty of stuff to check out in that place. Plenty of locations all over the Northeast Ohio area. But if you would like to be a sponsor of Absolute Intense Wrestling, get a hold of Jim at AIWrestling.com. Send him an email. We're always taking sponsorships. Plenty of different options to go with. Get a hold of our guy, Coach Jimmy. He'll take care of you, get you all signed up, and we'll get that all squared away. Plenty of dates that could be, you know, if you got a show, a bought show, you guys want AIW to come into your place of work or wherever, you know, brewery or
corporate events, private corporate events.
Yeah,
we've done. I don't know if we've done a private corporate event. We've done birthday parties, bachelor parties, private bachelor parties. We've done all kinds of weird under the radar things. So we are available. We are open for business, as they say.
We just recently had our most recent Gauntlet for the Gold 16. Is it crazy to you that you've done 16 of those shows? I know we're starting to get up there in some of these. Is it wild to you that you've been doing it for this long?
Yes. What's even wilder is there's that COVID, stall period, so it's actually been doing it longer than, you know what I mean? Like, we missed like a year or two of the Gauntlet, I think. So.
Yeah, because some of them are on like 17, and then some of them are still back. Like Gauntlet still was just 16.
Hell on Earth, I think is the only. It is the only annual that we were able to do when, you know, we started creeping back up from COVID. So like, that's kind of one ahead, which you know now kind of works as like the unofficial season kickoff, so to speak, you know, new season or whatever you want to call it. Like that's kind of just how it's fallen. So that's always going to be, I guess, a little older.
Right. Excuse me. Another Gauntlet for Gold in the books. This was my second Gauntlet.
Well, before we get into that, something
sure.
that I think that we forgot to talk about, because I know you weren't there. You didn't end up going to the after party in Kent. You know, the disaster of the Kent experience this last time. But
yeah,
I know I tweeted about it, and I wanted to elaborate about it because I know people were interested in it. But Kaplan just pretended that he was a bouncer at these college bars, and it was the funniest fucking thing I've ever seen in my entire life. Just so funny how just casual he just was doing this like improv skit just to like make all of us laugh, and it was so hard not to like blow his spot up as he just like went in on these college kids. Like, mind you, like it was inside, like they were already inside the bar where he was IDing them, like as if he was an undercover cop or something.
Like a second check, like, okay, we're really checking you out this time.
Yeah, like, so we were in this weird bar, I think it's called the Zephyr, and there's like a bottom, like, floor, and then there's this, like, middle outside patio floor, and then there's, like, a third floor. So we were hanging out on this middle patio floor, so when people were coming up the steps to, like, you know, kind of cut through and keep going up, because they were doing, like, an emo night or something at the Zephyr, Kaplan would just hit him with, like, you know, the two fingers, like, in shape of a license, you know? And
yeah, like this almost looks like you're making a C with your fingers.
like, hey. And, like, people would be like, what? We already checked. He's like, well, you weren't checked by me. And he would just, like, go in on these people. And, you know, like, some guy had, like, one of those vertical licenses, you know, for under 21.
Yeah.
And Kaplan really fucking... interrogated him, and he's like, oh, you know, I got arrested because I was stealing my mom's pills, and like I can't get a license.
Shit.
And like one guy was like, come on, man, I'm 24, and Kaplan's like, I'm 34, and the guy's like, you still go here? He's like, you're 34, you still go here? He's like, yeah, man. He's like, that social studies degree's no joke.
And then, what a legend Kaplan is.
He's like, is that weed I smell? And like he took a guy's weed.
No fucking way. That is incredible.
He's like, excuse me, sir. He's like, is that marijuana?
Oh, that's great. I wish I was there. He could have gave it to me.
It was just so, like, he was just fucking with everybody. It was like one of the funniest things ever. And then, you know, he just kept looking at us going, man, I love it here. I feel like I'm on vacation. This is like, I feel like I'm in a different state right now. I was like, you're fucking with a bunch of like 20-year-old kids.
I love that that's like he's like relaxing, having a good time, and it's just busting people's chops.
What made it great, though, is because we were like in this outside patio. Mm-hmm. So he was just like, he had just like a lit cigar in the side of his mouth, as if he was, and like he was the head of security. And then one guy actually worked there that he stopped.
Oh my God.
He's like, I'm just fucking with you. I'm Bill's buddy. You know Bill from the downstairs bar? And the guy just looked at him. He's like, you don't know Bill? Bill's not working tonight?
Oh, that's fucking great. He just like go with it.
Kaplan just lied his way out of it. It was so funny.
Oh, that's fantastic. I wish I was there for that. That's so funny. He seems like it's just like Kaplan, like like describing that, like he plays that. I feel like he just plays that part so perfectly. Like he looks the part. The cigar, he's got the stogie hanging out of his mouth. He's an intimidating looking guy. You know what I mean? So he's like already, you know, it just plays the part perfectly.
He was just saying the funniest stuff, and like we were just dying laughing. Like even though it was like such a bad kind of experience as far as attendance and everything for the Cybernetico, like that was just killing. Everybody that went out afterwards was dying. And then like Filthy Tom Lawler kept going, have you seen my son Billy Lawler? He's been fucking around in his dorm room all semester. And like, because you know we were just old guys in these college bars.
Yeah.
So like we were just having a good time.
Oh fuck, that's so funny. All right, moving forward, I didn't go to the last after party. I didn't go to this after party either, but that's another story for another day.
What happened? Where'd you go?
Oh, you think I'm gonna bring my wife around a bunch of drunk wrestlers? You're out of your fucking mind.
It was pretty tame.
I'm just kidding. Yeah, she knows everyone too. She's fine. She just was beat. She was tired, wanted to go home. She's like, I'm exhausted. She's like,
was she there the whole show?
Yeah. She came with.
She hides, huh?
She was in the back. Yeah, they had general admit. She just got general admission. So I mean, you know, she doesn't. You know, she's a bit of a hider, I guess.
Yeah, I thought she like showed. I saw her at the end. I thought she just kind of like showed up because I know you guys were in like a shared automobile situation because she got in that accident.
Yeah. So she did get a ride with young Ed, and she was there. But yeah, she's a stand in the back, kind of just watch, that type of thing. And then I told her I was mad at her because she stands in the back and watches. But I go, oh, did you see me when I brought the casket out? I was one of the druids that brought the casket out. Did you see me when I came out through the curtain? She's like, you were out there? She's like, no, I didn't see it. I'm like, God damn it. I'm like, I'm never out there. I'm never on camera, never visible ever during the shows. The one time I am, you are there and you didn't fucking see it. But getting into the card, this was a really good Gauntlet for the Gold. I have many under my belt, and this one did not disappoint in so many ways for me. Just the card itself was incredible. All the matches, including the Gauntlet match, were just really top notch. From top to bottom, I thought it was, over delivered in many ways. I saw a lot of people on social media and stuff like that saying that they really felt like this was one of the best gauntlets they've seen in a long time. What were your initial thoughts on the night?
Well, as I stated, for the last couple of weeks, like, we were really trying to put this together for the AIW audience. You know what I mean? Like, if you are a Fight Plus watcher, some of this stuff probably didn't hit the way it hit, the people in the live audience, or the people that have followed AIW for quite some time, so that's kind of where, that's kind of the give and take, right? Because, obviously, if people have been coming to AIW since the Mount Carmel era, they're going to remember AIW superstar Jerry. But, like, somebody that is just watching AIW through the Fight Plus era is going to go, I have no idea what any of this means. You know what I mean?
Yeah, who's coming out to Ariana Grande, they're saying.
But, like, stuff like that, I thought that it really played well to, like, our core audience, and that's what we were going for. Sooner or later, it's going to be really hard to find these, talents that can, get that sort of reaction and get that kind of wow factor. But I think this year was a really, really good, like, it's going to be hard to top the surprises from this year. We've done Jerry before in the Gauntlet. He always does pretty well, but Magnum CK and Dr. Dan, I think, people were really shocked to see them back.
Yeah, you really undersold, and you kind of went with, hey, we're really not going to do any surprises, and you kind of just left it at that, and we didn't really harp on it much. So I feel like when those surprises did hit, I feel like a lot of people were very shocked. I think it was. Well, I think it was like convincing.
You got to gauge expectations, right? Like, I knew that they would do well for our core, but again, we're much like there's turnover on the roster, there's turnover in that audience quite a bit. You know what I mean? Like, so I knew that, there would be a good base of people that would really play well to, but, there's also, Sam Holloway fans and Shawn Mason fans and, Austin James fans and all these kind of new people that are also coming around that it might not, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So,
yeah, I mean, I had a handful of students and recent graduates is the word I was looking for. They're graduates that when they read the board in the back, they said, Jerry, who is Jerry? And I said, first
a lot of them. I mean, a lot of them didn't know who all three of them were.
I said, first off, it's AIW superstar Jerry. I said, second off, that is a former Intense title holder, so you put some respect on that man's name.
Right.
He's been around. Magnum CK was one that I felt like a lot of people knew. Dan is one that a lot of people knew too, because he was, in the school and he was around. He did disappear for a while. Dan has been gone, so some of the newer students, graduates, whatever, weren't aware. But that was one I really enjoyed checking off the list. Magnum CK and Dr. Dan were two that I, just kind of missed on when I started working there. And it was really cool to get to.
I wish he would have went with the. I mean, I understand like his reasoning for not wanting to, but I think he should have just went with that old music. You know what I mean?
With the voiceover.
Yeah, just so I understood what he was thinking, but people figured it out anyway. You know what I mean? Before he came out.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he should have just went balls to the wall with the old thing and just let, those people go nuts, because they figured it out before he came out.
Some people, yeah, they definitely did. We could hear him yelling and stuff like that. I think he was thinking that, if with the music and the voiceover, it would kind of ruin it right away, and he kind of wanted to let it build. Plus, I don't even know if he had that headset. I don't even know if he knew where that was, and I don't have to hook that damn thing up again and all this shit. I don't even know. But
that was all the voiceover was pre-recorded.
I'm just mean when he wore that like Britney Spears type headset. You remember that? And he come out on the hoverboard and he would talk. He would talk into the hands-free one. Is what I was talking about.
He posted, his microphone. He did post that it was 953 days since his last AIW appearance.
Yeah, it had been quite a while. That's for sure.
I mean, that's about 3 years, right?
Yeah.
Just
shy.
I definitely just wanted to gauge expectations on that though, because it's. I knew that people would like it, but it's also not gonna play to everybody. So, that's where I was at. But also, like a little deflection here on the podcast to, you know what I mean?
Sure.
Get a better reaction. I think also helped out. Because that's the fun of the Gauntlet. Like, you don't like it's not fun if you knew all three of those guys were there. You know what I mean? Like, I think people that genuinely had no idea really enjoyed it. And I mean, the big surprise at the end, Isaiah Broner, who came back, way faster than any predictions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, he had said that they told him he shouldn't be back logistically till almost December.
Right.
And he just he busted his ass, was in, doing multiple rehabs a day, and really busted his ass to get back. And I think that was one that I don't think anyone thought that he was coming out at 30.
Right. I mean, and once we got word on that, and he received clearance, we kind of had that plan in the back pocket when we were waiting for that official kind of there were a few plans in place, I'll say that, a few contingency plans, which we don't have to discuss what those were, but that was the big one that I think we all wanted, was Broner making that that comeback several months earlier than expected, and now he's heading to Absolution to headline against Matt Cardona.
It was funny too, because I said to him, he sits there in the back. Usually he likes to sit at the monitor, so he sits next to me quite often. We bullshit quite often, and it was funny because he's been around at shows in the past, previous when he was hurt, and he's just kind of been around and and talked to everyone, just kind of around and taking in, still around, like I said. But this one, I said, he was a surprise, but I said maybe even if somebody did see him through the curtain, kind of sitting back there or whatever, he's been around, so it wouldn't be that crazy. But I said, it'd be funny if you had like NBA tearaways, because he could just be like sitting there back there next to me, just chilling, all watching the show and just be normal. Then all of a sudden, 29 goes in, and then he hits those tearaways, pulls the tearaways off. He's like, all right, I'm in. We dap it up, and he goes out there, hit the music, and he goes out. And it was just, I go, that would have been so funny if you just out of nowhere just pull him off, and you're like, I'm going in.
I think he was a little in the zone all day.
Oh, yeah.
He's very to himself, and I think he was just kind of mentally preparing himself to, for everything. And I think it was really emotional for him, honestly. I think there was a lot. It was emotional for, I would say probably all the surprise guys in different ways. Mm-hmm. And it was interesting to see. We did have I don't know if the footage will be usable or what, but we did have people kind of we had the surprise guys kind of do like some candid interviews about what they were feeling earlier in the day before fans came in, and then to kind of gauge their, what I mean, just kind of document the day a little bit for them.
Sure.
Like I said, it could be something that sees the light of day. It may never see the light of day. I don't think anybody's even reviewed the footage of it yet, but we were kind of documenting those four guys throughout the day.
Well, nowadays too, with the amount of footage that gets taken day of too, and I mean there is a lot of stuff. All those things that you saw, if you watched the live stream or if you go back and watch it, if you haven't, I highly advise you to go back and watch the Fight Plus stream, because there was a lot on that stream that you did not see at the live audience. Unfortunately, we're not at the point where we have big screens and can kind of show that stuff to the live audience that's there. But if you were watching on Fight Plus, there was a lot of stuff that got filmed, people picking their numbers, stuff like that. That there's a lot of stuff filmed during the day, day of the show that, if you're not there, you may not see some of this stuff. So I would highly advise people to go back to Fight Plus and watch the replay, because there's a lot of stuff on there.
Yeah, that's just credit to Chase Oliver and the team. I mean, I helped kind of wrangle and produce some of those backstage segments, but it's one thing to film them. It's another thing to edit them, render them out, and get them ready to go on a live stream in within the hour.
Right.
That was just kind of like a next level of just production stress that we had, and I mean, I think it added a lot to the live stream. I think, again, just like the surprises, there's a give and take, right? Mm-hmm. Because we're running video packages and there's kind of a lull, with the live crowd, where there's kind of like 2 minutes or 3 minutes of silence. So we're still kind of working our way through the best way to do things, because, and it does extend the show a little bit, Mm-hmm. But I do think watching at home on Fight Plus, like, it gives a little bit more depth to what's going on. You know what I mean? There was a little extra promo from, Cardona and Fonzie and STL and PME, early in the show. And, there's just a lot of different kind of things of guys building to the gauntlet later on in the night and stuff like that.
Yeah, I just, like you said, credit to Chase, because I think where we've come from when we started with doing our own production to where we are now is just, leaps and bounds ahead, and that's all credit to Chase, because he just does an incredible job with all that stuff. And like you said, I mean, we're filming, editing, rendering, and putting that all out live, like, within the hour. I mean, you talk about something that's stressful, like, it all rides on him to kind of handle that stuff, and he does with
right. And I mean, people are showing up at different times, you know what I mean, and like he has this kind of vision of how he wants things to go, but you know what I mean, like some people are getting there at 4:00, some people are getting there at 6:00, you know, so. It was a pretty hectic environment back there, I guess probably the most comparable to like a live, production that we've ever done. I think, like almost like a live television production. It was a little bit different than, just we're live on, Fight Plus. There was a lot more elements, going on, multiple cameras, people getting, these pre-show promos. There was people getting this documentary stuff. There were people getting promos of guys after their matches, like live right there on the fly. Like just all kinds of stuff was going on. So it was pretty crazy.
Yeah, because are we? Because I might not even know about this, but I mean, are we producing something like in the long run? Because I know Caleb was taking stuff backstage, I was in shots at some point. He was taking like backstage footage of people talking after their matches or just whatever, documenting all this type of stuff that that didn't go on the stream. So I was wondering what was going on with that. Is that in the works? Or
so like Chase and I talked, and we thought it would be kind of cool for Patreon or something, to kind of document the surprise people throughout the day, and
Mm-hmm.
just try to get like one of those like WWE style 20-30 minute kind of backstage real little mini documentary things going on. And like I said, I don't know if we got enough, if we didn't get enough, you know what I mean, if we got too much, if it's not usable, if it's usable. I haven't heard anything on that, but we were at least shooting stuff to see if we could do something like that down the road.
I would definitely be very interested to see what could come out of that because, yeah, I saw them shooting a lot of stuff, and I thought in my head at the time, I thought, man, that's really cool, and I was curious what the plan was. I had meant to ask you. I knew we were going to obviously talk on the pod here, so I was kind of saving it for that, but I was very curious because, yeah, I mean, as somebody who came from the fan side of it to now working in the back, I think what I saw him film and all that would be really interesting, if you were still just somebody on, fan side who was curious about what goes on in the back there and what it's like, and you like those WWE style documentaries, this would be, an AIW version of that, and I think that's extremely compelling. I would be very curious to see what happens to that down the road.
Yeah, and I mean, that's kind of like a we'll wait and see sort of thing. It was an idea that we had, especially because we had these, different kind of personalities from the past. And it was, it was pretty emotional for them for different reasons. I'd say all four of the surprises. It was pretty emotional for all four of them for different things. And, we were kind of just wanted to get their real kind of raw feelings, and I don't know how long, I wasn't actually there for it. Observational Banter was kind of producing that stuff. Mm-hmm. So, I don't know how any of it turned out, but it was just an idea that I had and I had pitched to Chase, and I said, if we were going to try something like this would probably be the time to do it because we do have these kind of four unique personalities coming back into the fold for different reasons, right. At least for one night only. And, it's going to be emotional for different reasons, like Magnum CK was told he can never wrestle again, I don't know what Dr. Dan will say in that documentary, but, there's anybody that's within the AIW circle knows that it was pretty well documented why Dan, kind of disappeared for 3 years. Mm-hmm. And it was very emotional and probably a huge burden, off of his back to walk through those doors on Saturday.
Yeah.
Jerry, has kind of been away from wrestling for a while, by choice. You know what I mean? He just kind of walked away, wanted to walk away because he had achieved, winning a championship in AIW, and he kind of wanted to go out, on top instead of hang around. And Isaiah Broner, obviously is, that story speaks for itself. So we had all sorts of kind of different threads going on with each one of those guys. And, we wanted to, kind of see if we can get some cool content out of it. And if we don't, we don't, you know what I mean? This footage is, we're not obligated to put it out there or release anything. So, Chase is going to sort through it and, see if there's, something usable in it.
I look forward to seeing what comes out of that. Talking about this card a little bit, was there a match on the card? I'm curious, aside from the Gauntlet match, was there a match on the card that really exceeded your expectations? Because I felt there was a couple, in my opinion, but I was curious to see what was kind of what stood out for you of the night, on the card. What stood out the most for you?
You have to say, I guess you would call it the semi-main event, which would be Sam and Cardona. Mm-hmm. I thought that this was just, listen, there's a lot of people that criticize Cardona and hate Cardona and don't understand the Cardona thing. And, we all see it on social media and in these Discord chats, not the AIW one, but there's multiple ones where people hate it and they don't get it. The man has a decade plus of experience, right? Like, you cannot buy
high level experience too,
you cannot buy that sort of master class to put your people in there with. And you could say a lot of things. He really worked hard to make Sam Holloway matter. You know what I mean? It's one thing. Sam did have a lot of support that was in the crowd, and that does certainly help. But Matt Cardona went out there and worked very hard to make Sam look like an equal. A guy who's been wrestling less than a year, you know what I mean, who is very inexperienced and very green. he worked so hard, and it really just kind of opened Sam's eyes to so many different things. And, just invaluable experience for Sam Holloway. I didn't know what to expect. Cardona could have probably ate him alive and made him look like a joke. I know that people think that he doesn't know how to wrestle or whatever. Like, Matt Cardona is a very skilled professional wrestler, and guys of that level know how to make somebody look like a fucking goof if they want to. And he did not. And he went out of his way to just really make Sam look great. And, Sam went out of his way. Sam rose to the occasion, right? Like, he could have went out there and he could have bombed and let nerves get to him, because he was certainly nervous. I mean, I know that I know anybody that was at that fucking monitor before he went out saw those nerves. You know what I mean? He was terrified, and he went out there and he fucking rocked it.
It was certainly a performance to be admired. I mean, speaking of the Cardona thing, he doesn't have to do that. I know you maybe could say, oh, yeah, sure he does. That's his job, or it's this or that. But like you said, man, he could have easily went out there and did things to hurt the performance, or definitely hinder Sam, or make a guy like Sam, who is as green as Sam is, only been in for so long. He definitely could have put him in a position to make him really have to work for it. And a guy that's skilled as Cardona is, and for as much as, I don't know, whatever people want to say about him, I think he's a lot nicer and a nicer guy than people give him credit for. I mean, he went out of his way to make Sam look like $1 million. And Sam worked for it as well. Like you said, he rose to the occasion, but wrestling is a two-way dance. It takes two to tango, and Matt really put himself out there and helped Sam and made Sam look the way, he wanted, because Matt wants to go out there and have a great match. I know, like I said, people have a lot of feelings about the guy, but, he works his ass off out there from the time that he gets in the building to the time that he leaves. And I think it's, it's not something that he doesn't owe that to anyone. I mean, I don't know. There's plenty of wrestlers that get their pay, do what they have to do, and they're out of there.
Right. I mean, there's plenty that it's just, where's my envelope? You know what I mean? And I'm not trying to blow his gimmick or whatever, but like,
right.
He did not have to go out there and have that match with Sam Holloway, and that should be really admired, because that is the only way you learn in this business. Is you can learn everything. You know what I mean? You can learn all this stuff at a wrestling school, but like, until you go out there in front of people with a just well experienced veteran, like, you don't know shit. You know what I mean? Like, any wrestler that has ever done anything will tell you that. Like, they were so good at wrestling school, then they got in front of a crowd and they realized they didn't know shit. Sam learned so much in that 15 minutes or whatever it was, and I think it legitimizes Sam to more than just his people and the small contingents of the AW faithful that have been getting on board with him. It made a lot of people think, like, hey, this guy could be somebody. Because like I said, a lot of people forget we're playing to two audiences. We're playing to the live audience, and we're playing to the Fight Plus audience that goes around the world. We don't know who's watching. So, you know what I mean? Like, I would say probably the majority of that audience has no idea who Sam Holloway is, or knows his story, or any of that. You know what I mean? So, I thought that they went out there and they really had a great match. There was a ton of just like near falls, and the crowd and the atmosphere for that match was like one of the greatest AIW live experiences. That I went out there and I kind of stood in the crowd for a little bit, and I was like, man, this is just like electric, and that's what makes it great. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it really, I mean, going forward now, you said some of these people like Fight Plus audience, I guess we'll call them, now when they see Sam's name on the card, like you said, it really legitimizes him as a guy. You see that name on the card and you go, oh, this is the guy that went toe-to-toe with Cardone. You know, you remember stuff like that. And going forward now, people see that Sam's name, and that's going to be, it's you're going to want to watch that match. It's not just some name on the card any longer in AIW.
And I mean, in the same respect of everything we just said about Sam, you know what I mean? You have to say it about Shaw Mason and his match with Derek Dillinger for the Intense title. I mean, they worked also, kind of different circumstances, right? Like, they are more kind of peers and, have worked together at the AW Academy and, things of that nature. But it's kind of in the same in the same realm, they had people hooked, and I know that there's Shaw kind of is unfortunately getting that, like, a little bit of that resistance from the AIW core, much like Wes Barkley did for so many years, you know what I mean? Because Shaw brings people, you know what I mean? So, like, for whatever reason, that kind of rubs some of the core audience wrong, because he brings people that are loud and cheer for him and whatever, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
But you cannot discount how hard that kid works and how much he continues to improve every time he goes out there. And there's a reason why, these guys on the roster want to work with Shaw, like, they know that it's going to be an electric atmosphere, and that, to be a wrestler, is what people want. That's the environment they thrive in. And Shaw's risen to the occasion, thus far. I don't think that he's had, a like, maybe we take Shaw off, you know what I mean? One of those performances, like, he continues to deliver. And, he wants it, like, it has to be said, like, which we didn't get into. We can get into it a little bit, but, like, I picked up Abdullah the Butcher on Friday night, and I had just about enough already, like, and I was like, somebody has to get this guy, on Saturday, like, because I needed to be out to the venue earlier anyway. Shaw Mason, went out and rented a car just so he could be able to volunteer to drive Abdul the Butcher and his, like, crew around, because he brought, like, a crew with him. Things like that go a long way. You know what I mean? Like, he had a match. He had a title match. He's, worked his way onto the main shows, almost all of them for the most part, since debuting. He doesn't have to be the guy that goes out there and does that. You know what I mean? But, like, that's just in his character to, always be contributing to the company and moving it forward, much like how he tries to get people to buy tickets. You know what I mean? Like, he wants it. He wants the company to be a success. He wants to be a success. And he loves going, he brought brought the Exchange relationship to the company. He goes above and beyond. But I just thought that had to be mentioned. He went out and rented a car and did not ask for reimbursement on any of it, just so he could, take a burden off of me of having to drive or find somebody to drive Abdul the Butcher around.
Right. I mean, it needs to be mentioned, too. He was also in the Gauntlet. So you say he has a championship match to worry about, but then he's also in the Gauntlet as well. It's just, it's definitely speaks to his character.
Yeah, he had a lot. I think, he continues to, the whole card, I thought, did well. From members only to Money Shot, I thought that they rocked it to open up the show. I know that it was mentioned in the Discord. People are mad at Charles Van. Like, listen, you know what I mean? Like, he's new. Like, there's gonna be growing pains there. I didn't even notice. People are alleged that he counted too fast, or it looked bad. I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't paying that much of attention to it. Like there was a zillion things going on backstage. So, I mean, everyone made him fully aware on Twitter that he fucked up. So, like, I think he gets it. There's not much more that I could say. But what I saw that match, I thought that they worked well together. They opened the show hot. I'm still a little pissed at Kaplan and Dom for breaking all those fucking bins. had to send Andy on a Walmart run to go get new totes.
See, now I was gonna say I don't know. I'm in the back there. I seem to notice Charles and Money Shot. They're a little friendly. Maybe the fast count wasn't an accident. Maybe Charles. There's a lot of personalities backstage. A lot of stuff going on. It's no secret that there's another ref that's pretty good friends with members only. Maybe Charles and members and Money Shot have, became friendly over time, and he doing what he's got to do to protect that the titles. I don't know. Maybe there's more to tell there.
Who's the ref with his friendly with members only?
Oh, you don't. Come on, you know who it is.
Porter.
Yeah, my guy, Porter O'Shea. It's no secret that Porter and members only are. Well, I'm just saying. I was just using that as an example of, people are friendly with other wrestlers. Maybe Charles and Money Shot become friendly. I don't know.
I wouldn't count on that. I don't think anybody's too friendly with those guys. But I did like that you came up with that elaborate story just to get to the fact that EVP Jimmy is members only, almost exclusive referee most of the time.
They're friendly. That's all I was trying to say. I like Porter. I like bringing him up, as my buddy. It's my guy. I like to give him a shout out on the pod.
But yeah, I'm sorry. I'm just like you just get totally off the rails.
I threw you off there, huh?
To get like a members only EVP Jimmy joke in, and I'm just kind of gather my thoughts.
I mean, I just was saying. I thought maybe this
doesn't rough enough.
Okay.
We have 20 refs on the roster, so they each do fucking one match. Every show.
There are a lot of referees on the roster.
I know. There's got to be some budget cuts coming.
A match that hasn't been mentioned yet that I thought was a great match, Jocelyn Navarro versus Miyu Yamashita. That was a match that I thought delivered in every way. International superstar coming in, the AIW women's kind of measuring stick, the top of the food chain in the women's division, going at it. And I thought that delivered in every way. What were your thoughts on the match?
Yeah, I mean, I thought that, there seemed to be like a little bit of communication issues, like at certain points of it. But I thought once they got going, it really got going, and I thought it was great. And Jocelyn was able to hang. You know what I mean? Like I said, this is just this was a big test for her, and she was able to kind of hang and bang in there with one of the best in the world, and being able to do that, the confidence that gives wrestlers as performers is just an invaluable attribute to kind of have. You know what I mean? Confidence is just so, you can't teach confidence. So to kind of go out there and hang, I think was just, win, lose, or draw. It really didn't matter, honestly. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think it was more about being able to, go toe to toe with, one of the best female professional wrestlers on the planet. And I think, it was also one of those cool experiences for the AIW live crowd, right? Like, to be able to, see this, just incredible performer in Eastlake, Ohio on a Saturday night.
Yeah, and like you said, the language barrier too is something for Jossie that that can help her going forward. Now she knows, hey, she can work international people, and maybe the language barrier, maybe they're not seeing eye to eye communication wise, but she work it out in the ring, and it works, and she can feel confident going forward that even if something like that breaks down, she can still have a great match.
Right. No, and listen, I thought that the whole card delivered. You know what I mean? Spin the wheel, make the deal. I mean, what a fucking, you know, I'm going to tell those guys, we're just leaving the wheel at home from now on.
Just pick one when you get out there.
Just fucking pick one in advance. You know what I mean? Like, but again, like they land on the easiest one, and then they start fucking respinning and fucking around, and then it's just like the crowd just decides they want a casket match. So a casket match is what they got.
I think casket match was obviously the favorite, but I think it speaks to Josh and Tom, and you have to take that as an AIW fan and say that, man, these guys are not just going to go out there. You're not going to come to AIW and guys are just going to go out there and phone it in. They could have easily, like you said, what was it? It was a
Eastlake Street Fight.
Eastlake Street Fight. Them two could have easily went out there and had not phone it in, but whatever. You know, they could have really just went out there and had a decent match, whatever. They decided, no, let's. There's a fucking casket back there. Let's get crazy and give the fans what they want and deliver, and they did again. And it's so hard, like you said. They go out there and they have the Prince of Darkness match, and they do the spin the wheel. That's like lightning in the bottle, right? After a few problems, some stuff goes on in the show. It's kind of a lull. We really needed to come out of it. They have that match, bring us out of it. Great match. Then you say, can you do it again? And they do. They strike lightning again twice and have this casket match that was just, I mean, the finish to that match, the finish was so fucking awesome.
Well, the thing that was, the only thing that I will say against it is, because they don't know what they're doing and they don't have anything planned and everything is improv, it does go longer than what would be, typically on a format for a show. So because they have to go through this whole process and then they got to feel each other out and they got to try to figure it out as they're going. So it does take a little longer to work up because they have nothing really planned, they had, kind of a little funny thing is like Pure Rules was on there and then they're like, what do we do? We need judges and all this stuff. So they were gonna have Larry Zbyszko, Abdullah the Butcher, and I'm trying to think of who the third one was. It might have been Fonzie. They were gonna be the Pure Rules judges.
That's fantastic.
In which they were not gonna be tipped off at all, and they were gonna have no idea what was going on. But. Didn't land on Pure Rules, and just I don't want to blow their spot too much, but Josh was kind of fucking around backstage, and he's like, what do I do? I just shoot on somebody's leg, you just wrestle, and he fake did that to Tom, and Tom his just instincts kicked in and he just immediately locked a choke on he was he had PTSD from from MMA fighting and locked a choke on. He's like, what the fuck do you think you're doing? And choked him out and then kind of snapped out of it. He's like, what do you think you're doing trying to do that to me? He's like, you don't fuck around like that. You could hurt somebody.
Funny. Yeah.
And Josh was like, that was so scary. I was like, dude, he's a fucking trained kid. He goes and trains soldiers in the desert. You know what I mean? He's a trained hand-to-hand combat warrior. He just it's natural instincts. But
Tom's the best.
He tried to do shoot on his leg backstage, and Josh found out real quick.
You don't do that.
But yeah, I thought the whole card was good. Crazy experience. You got to shout out Larry Zbyszko, who was pretty low key. He was he was moving real slow. But not a real lot of time with him. He flew in super late Friday night, landed at about midnight. Just hung out at the hotel all day till about 5 o'clock, and then did the signing. Nothing really of note of him, he kind of talks like this, John, he's just, he's just an old brothered out guy.
Long line for Zbyszko though.
Yeah, they both did really good with their meet and greet lines. it was super cool. You know what I mean? Like, I'm a Scott Hall fan. I know you're a Scott Hall fan, and like Scott Hall was like a huge Larry Zbyszko fan, and Larry Zbyszko did so much for Scott Hall when Scott Hall was a young wrestler. So like, that's why I wanted to book him. You know what I mean? I know there's a million other reasons why you would want to book Larry Zbyszko, but I really wanted to book him, you know, based on, you know, the kind of Scott Hall connection that he had.
Right.
You know, he was, you know, he did like some really great stuff for Scott when he was like super green early in his career. And then Scott kind of paid him back later on in WCW. And, you know, if like you could find on YouTube, like, there's these old Scott Hall where Scott Hall was trying to get a YouTube channel going like 15 years ago. And he just like goes to like Larry Zbyszko's house all the time, and they like watch matches. Like they just talk. It's pretty funny.
Yeah.
But that's why I kind of wanted to book him. I didn't get a lot of chance to talk to him though, because, you know, he landed late, and then by the time he got there, you know, we're in the kind of the thick of everything.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot going on day of show wise. I mean, you're in every direction. It's funny too, because thinking about that and saying like, I don't know how many times a day, there was at least 5 to 6 different times that somebody's like, where's Thorne, or where's this person? And I'm thinking about, like, just walk that way. Like, you just missed him, this or that way. And it's people are back and forth all over the building all day long. So there is a lot going on. So
yeah, and it's like Larry was actually leaving, and he was going through backstage, and like I stopped, and I was like, Andy, take a picture for me. And like I got a picture with him right before he left, because I just didn't have time. Yeah.
It's definitely want to shout out the pre-show match that we haven't discussed yet. I thought that was a great match. If you were there live, you got to see it. It was not on Fight Plus. But Austin James and Vic Weiss, I thought had a great match. I thought the finish of that match was great. What did you think of the pre-show?
What I was really impressed with was that was not the planned finish. You know, they blow the planned finish, and you have no idea. You know what I mean? Like, I knew what the finish was supposed to be, and like they fucked it up, and they kept going, and they went on the fly, and killed it. You know what I mean, with a cool finish. So that was props to those guys for, you know, not getting flustered and keeping things moving. You know, both guys are continuing to improve. Tons of support from, you know, the locker room, you know, for both of those guys as well. So, you know, I wanted to give them a little opportunity when, you know, especially when we do these meet and greets, there's an hour of dead time. You know what I mean? People are just standing in line. So, you know, throw something out there, and, you know, this was a perfect opportunity for those guys.
I thought it really delivered too. And like you said, with the finish, I don't think people knew that, obviously, that wasn't what was supposed to happen. But for two guys who are as green as they are and kind of new to the business, to have that happen and both be able to go, okay, they readjust, we're going to, you know, and make it happen and have a finish that was great, and, you know, was a great finish. I think that does a lot for them confidence-wise going forward, that, hey, you know, it's not always going to go exactly how it's supposed to out there, and we now have the tools and knowledge and experience to kind of take it and figure out and still make the best of it.
Right. No, I was super impressed with all that. You know, like, it was kind of doom and gloom. We didn't really get into it on the podcast, but, you know, it was a super expensive show. And Pedro was like really on me about the finances of it, especially, you know, the couple days leading into it. Mm-hmm. So I was a little nervous, honestly, about Saturday. You know, like, I knew we had sold, you know, first and fourth row out, but like, you know, there was a pretty big uphill battle that we were facing going into Saturday. I mean, it was obviously, you know, light years better than the Cybernetico pre-sale, but you know, for the budget of the show overall, it was pretty shaky, I would say. And you know, just props to everybody that came out, and, you know, all the, you know, people on the show that really pushed it, and we were able to come out on top, you know, which is, you know, that's a win in my book. You know what I mean? Like, certainly didn't get rich, but we were able to, cover the bills, and there was no need to run to the ATM. So that's a win in my book as far as I'm concerned.
Absolutely. Getting into some questions in the AIW Patreon Discord. Got some questions. The EVP of Health, Jeremy, asks, for the second annual Fonzie Hardcore Tournament, will Kaplan have to give up his belt to the winner?
Yeah, so like that was kind of more of like a trophy as opposed to a defendable belt. So, and that's why you see Kaplan win, you see Kaplan lose, but it's kind of more a trophy as opposed to a defendable belt. Like he could choose to defend it, I suppose, throughout the year, if somebody challenged for it. But yeah, so that will be up for grabs in Ashtabula on July 29th. I believe they put tickets on sale already.
So I would assume he would be in the tournament, right? Is that safe to say that I would think he would return to defend the belt? He wouldn't have to give it up if he wins again this year, right? That's an obvious answer, right?
Negotiations are ongoing.
Right. There's some other questions in the Discord here. They are similar from Big Dan across the pond over there. Is there anyone from AIW past, if you could book one more time, who would it be, and which of the current roster would they face? If there's anyone, past AIW members you could get one more time, anybody, who would they face?
Oh, God. I don't know. That's such a loaded question. It could be...
There's so many former AIW. That's the thing.
Right. That covers so much ground, right?
Yeah.
Man, I don't know.
Because there's a long list. I've been doing these draft shows where we draft, former AIW talent, and you draft a roster, and then you build a show, and the names are, it's a who's who of who has wrestled in AIW, man.
Yeah, I don't know. I really don't know if I can answer that, but there's a zillion different directions I can go. But I'm going to go kind of with one out of left field, and I'm going to say Sweet and Sour Larry Sweeney versus Wes Barkley.
Wow. That would be, for the promos alone, holy shit. That would be an incredible match.
R.I.P.
I was going to say R.I.P. Yeah. Fuck, man. That's a great answer. I think that was a tough one for sure. That was a loaded question.
Yeah, you could go all over the map with that, but for whatever reason, that is just what popped into my head. There's no right or wrong answer to it, but that popped in my head, and I think that would be super entertaining.
No right or wrong answer, but I could definitely say that's not wrong. That's for sure. Another one from Jeremy. He asks, how long does it take to put together the Gauntlet order, and who does it? They draw the names out of a hat, right? We saw that on the live stream. Put together the order.
I won't reveal everybody that's involved in it, but it is an extensive planning process. It takes I would say 5 to 8 hours to put it together. Then there's ongoing tweaks and changes. Eric Taylor obviously scratched out. There were some other things that didn't pan out. Dr. Dan and I kind of had like a secret meeting after we had planned the Gauntlet. Mm-hmm. He was initially not involved. So it's kind of like an initial, I would say 5 to 8 hours. And then it continues to get fine tuned. We start that process about, I would say 2 months out. I start the process of trying to negotiate with or try to lock in mystery guys, I would say 4 months out. As soon as we decide what the date's going to be, Marion Fontaine gets booked instantly every year. So, I mean, it's kind of hard to pinpoint down how long it actually takes, but like the actual like majority of the planning of it is like a good entire day. It's like a shift at a job.
Yeah. Yeah, that's quite the task for sure. All right, well, that was all we had for questions. We pretty much covered the card, the gauntlet itself. Anything that we missed? Was there anything? Did you? Magnum CK came through the curtain, and there, I heard it in the back. I don't know where you were at this point when Magnum CK came out, but there was a blood-curdling scream. It sounded like someone was murdered.
I didn't hear it, but he posted a video of it. There's.
That was wild.
I would say that there's the only other question in there from Trombetta asking about any good Abdullah and Zabisco stories.
Okay, yeah, I figured we kind of covered that.
Zabisco, like I said, it was pretty like, and not a lot. I had a lot of phone calls with him leading up to it, negotiating and things like that. And he's like super like chill guy,
Yeah.
He can get text messages, but he can't send them because he's got a flip phone. So, like, I could text him, and then he would call me with the answer, But he was, like, totally chill. Like, didn't care about me booking him on a Frontier flight. Like, did not give a shit. Like, he was just, like, a cool fucking dude about everything. Just, like, super down to earth guy, like kind of fucking with all the guys in the back, you know what I mean? Just really can't say enough good things about him. The Abdullah thing was just weird. Like there's just so many different weird things that happen. Like you got to call this number and it's a handler, and then they go to him and then he yells on speakerphone, and then like you work out a deal, and then like you got to call a third person, and then this person's got to fly with him, and then the other person wants to then come, but they're going to get their own flight, and like it's just like a whole ordeal. And then he's like calling me, he's like, where's my hotel at? And I say, well, I'm going to book it tonight. He's like, okay, doctor, thank you. It's like I picked him up from the airport, and like it was just it's like I was saying, like it was going to be good stories one way or the other, and he was just like we got him to the hotel, and he's talking about Johnny Powers and wrestling in Cleveland, and then like we got him in, and he sent his people off, and he made me like sit down with them, and like he like wanted his money, and I was like, I didn't bring your money. You'll get it tomorrow. And then he was just the promo thing that
so I was gonna ask, whose idea was that?
So I was like, hey, can I get like a video that just says, hey, come to the show tomorrow? And he's like, yeah, no problem. I was like, just because people just never know, sometimes something goes wrong, they like knowing that the person's arrived. So he's like, yeah. And he's like, so we're like getting to the hotel, and he's like, let's get that picture. And I'm like, okay. So like I give, the one person that he was with the phone, and then like he just like, that was like all improv. Like none of that was called. Yeah. Like he's like, he was just supposed to say like, Abdullah the Butcher's in Cleveland, like see you tomorrow. And like he just like grabs me and starts choking me, and he's like,
"Yeah, it really looked like he's choking the shit out of you." Like
he was definitely working a little stiff, brother. And like he just keeps going. And he's like, "Who else is on the show?" I was like, people you haven't heard of. Like, what do you want me to say?
Meanwhile, you're getting choked out. Like your face was turning all red and shit. He was really pressing on you. Like you could tell he's really choking.
I mean, he's got some old man strength, dude. Like, and then, like, he sent his people in, and, like, we talked money and this and that. And then, like, he was just like, then he started pitching these angles. They were fucking wild. Like, I was just like, what the fuck? Like, he's like, do you have a picture of yourself? And I'm like, not on me. And he's like, because I think we got to do a thing where I'm eating a photo of you. I'm like, okay. He's like, you don't have a picture of yourself? I was like, no, like I'd have to find a printer.
You got like headshots, like you just keep a stack of them. Oh, yeah, right here.
Okay. He's like, I think it would be great if we did this thing where I was eating a picture of you. I'm like, okay, I'll see what I can do. And then he's like, you're the promoter though? And I was like, yeah. Like he kept like, I don't know. He kept like asking me how old I was and shit. Like I don't think he believed that I was the promoter.
Yeah.
And he's like, okay. He's like, how about this? He's like, tomorrow, it's a wrestling show, right? I was like, yeah. And he's like, tomorrow, he's like, I want you to go into the ring, and I want you to welcome your fans to the arena tomorrow. I'm like, okay.
You never do.
He's like, I really want you to, tell them how happy you are that they're all in the building, and then we're gonna find some bad guys, and they're gonna come out, and they're gonna beat the shit out of you. And he's like, then we're gonna get a stretcher, and they're gonna stretcher you out. They're gonna hurt you, and you're gonna leave on a stretcher.
We had one.
And then when you're almost into the back and you're on the stretcher and everyone's sad and thinks you've been really hurt, you're gonna grab the microphone and you're gonna say, "You fucked up. I got something for you." And then Abdullah the Butcher's gonna come down to the ring.
Yes.
And then I'm going to defend you. And then I'm going to take that photo and I'm going to start eating it. And I'm looking at this guy. I'm like, he's in a wheelchair. Like,
Yeah. He hasn't yet to walk in front of you.
He's like, do you got a fork on you? And I'm like, no. He's like, let's do another
Like
video
in
with
your
a fork.
pocket.
And I was like, I don't have one. He's like, all right. He's like, what am I doing tomorrow?
Fantastic.
And I was like, you're going to the show. He's like, you got something lined up where I can make some money? I was like, you're going to the show? He's like, yeah, but like, how do I make money until I go to the show? I was like, what? I was like, I booked you to come to my wrestling show. Like, what are you talking about? He's like, you can't find somewhere else for me to go to make money during the day?
Like a double
he
shot.
was like, he was dumbfounded. And I was like, what? Like, no, this was never discussed.
Yeah.
And then, he kept asking for a bonus on Saturday.
Oh, jeez.
He's like, hey, how about you give me a little bonus? I was like, for what? Waking up? Like, he wanted a bonus. He wanted, and then I got a little pissed. Me and Abby had to have some more. He worked like some side deal. He had some guy come in through like the side door with and did this like bulk signing with like, I walked in on the middle of it, and our like ragtag crew of like students. I was like, "What's going on here?" They're like, well, I don't know.
Yeah, nobody probably had to step in and say something. Like
I had to have an awkward conversation about it.
Is this a guy you've seen before at all? Is it like a known
No, it's some like weird deal from that Abby worked with some guy from Detroit.
Jesus Christ!
Like in private. So I was like, what the fuck?
You didn't find something for him to make money, John. He had to go into business for himself.
But then I think he felt bad because Shaw said that, hey, Abdullah pulled out 2 custom Abdullah the Butcher hats and autographed them and told me that he wants me to give them to you as a thank you.
No kidding.
But I mean, all in all, it was as average. It was like as expected, and it wasn't. It wasn't a bad experience. It was just kind of funny. You know what I mean? Like,
sure.
I wouldn't say like nobody should book them or anything like that. Like, I think it's, like they just, they do not make them like that anymore. And like, that's why I really wanted to experience it. And it was just kind of like, it was funny. And like, he was great with fans, everybody, I seen a million fucking photo ops with him holding the fork to people's heads over the weekend. So like, I mean, stuff like that was just great. It was just kind of funny, like, he was just all about how can he make money like every minute of the day, and it's just like they just don't make guys like that anymore. You know what I mean? Like, it was just so funny to me. Like, And then he's like pitching all these angles and I'm trying to like, I know that he pitched other angles too. And then like at one point, like him and Cardona were going to do something. But then I think Cardona saw how stiff he was getting when he was putting that fork on people. And he was like, I don't know, man. Because he was signing right next to him.
Yeah.
Because I mean, like when people like, when people took pictures with him, like he fucking like grabbed them, like, you know what I mean? Like, oh, and this is like another funny Abdullah thing. His hand was all wrapped up, and like I was like, "What'd you do to your hand?" And he was just like, "I was in my hotel room all night practicing karate."
Holy shit!
And I was like, "What? Like you're just busting boards in your hotel room?" He's like, "I don't know if you know this, but I'm a master of karate."
Holy
and he
shit.
says it just like that, karate.
Yeah.
And like it just like it's fucking just it was just so funny. Like
that's awesome.
I highly recommend people book them. Just, you know, if you know what you're walking into, it's like a really enjoyable experience. Pedro dealt with him a lot, and Pedro was just like, "Get this guy the fuck out of here!" Like I'm sick of it, you know. Like, but I kind of half thought it was funny, but there was just, you know, like. And he was like, "No, like I thought I'm getting paid this much," and I'm like, you know, we had to have like that little talk. You know, he tried a couple sneak moves. You know what I mean? Like, but at the end of the day, he was just like like a grandpa. You know what I mean?
Which that's kind of par for the course, though, isn't it? With a lot of older wrestlers, that's definitely a move that they all do. So it's not like to say like Abby's just this guy who all of a sudden wanted more. But they all pretty much do that.
I
right?
mean, I knew exactly what it was going to be like.
Yeah.
And I loved it. You know what I mean?
Right,
like
right.
it was just like you just got to say like no. You know, like this is it. And like. And he was great, you know, like we took pictures with me, and then like he like, you know, he got a little stiff with me on that fork, you know what I mean? Because I didn't give him that bonus. But,
the bonus, right? Yeah.
But I mean, he really fucking locks it in, you know what I mean? Like, but you know, it was you know him and then another like. Zbyszko story was like, you know, this is Dustin's story, but Dustin picked Zbyszko up, and he was just like, oh, he's like, Abdullah the Butcher's gonna be here. I haven't seen him since Japan in the 80s. And like, which probably isn't true, but he's like, yeah, you know, we were running wild in Japan. And Dustin's like, oh, yeah? He's like, yeah. And then, like, Dustin thinks he's going to get these crazy Japan stories. And he goes, you know his name's Larry, too? And then he's like, all right, Dustin, I'll see you later.
Just ends it there.
That was it. He's just like, his name's Larry, too.
That's so great. I have to ask Dustin. That's great.
But, yeah, I mean, it was, all in all, it was an enjoyable experience. You know, I think, you know, not to sound morbid or whatever, but it's like you gotta, like some of these guys, you gotta book them. You know what I mean? Like they're getting older. Abdullah the Butcher's 82 years old. You know,
My
like
God.
That's pretty crazy. And he's like, you know, he's still pretty with it, and you know, he was great with fans, and you know, so many people brought all this cool kind of nostalgic stuff, like. You know, old wrestling magazines with him on it and stuff to sign. So there's like, you know, it's just one of those guys, you know, like he's a niche guy, but he's just like one in a million. You know what I mean? Like, if you know him, you really know him.
Right.
Did you have any interactions?
No. I was running around kind of setting stuff up, and they were kind of busy with fans. It's hard for me, you know, I mean, I kind of in a weird position because with staff, you know, work for the company, I don't want to like cut in front of anybody in a line, and there was a line the entire time that I, you know, had seen either of them. They were kind of interacting with other people, so, you know, I'm never going to like, you know, cut off a fan or something like that, so I didn't really get much time with either of those guys, unfortunately. Our
Yeah.
next show, getting into the next show real quick, June 17th, the West Side Bowl in Youngstown.
Yeah, all tickets.
Tickets on sale, right?
Yeah, tickets on sale. Carlito will be there. All tickets $20. We're gonna try to sell it out again. Maybe a double meet and greet situation that is to be determined, based on some phone calls I had, and then back at the Temple on June 23rd with Devon Dudley. I really hope that we could pack that Temple out again. I just think that the vibe of that place looks so cool. We did change up ticketing a little bit. We added 2 more rows of seats going kind of dead center onto towards the stage, and then we did remove seats on the side, so it's going to be a little bit more manageable for people to get around, because we really jammed them in last time. So I hope that we could sell it out, though. Again, I mean, that is the Cleveland venue for the foreseeable future. So if you want events in the Cleveland area, you got to come out and support those ones too.
Yeah.
Or else we're stuck in Akron, or because we can only get that 4 Sports building, even though that's kind of out there east. We can only get that like once or twice a year. They're so fucking booked, with like volleyball and different sports stuff. So that's the Temple is where it is for now. At least through this year. Have heard nothing on the Odeon or any of that. So no prospects thus far.
Well, looking forward to the Youngstown show for sure. Also looking forward to Temple Live. I think the Temple, like you said, that's just an atmosphere. We heard the complaints, we heard the gripes, all that stuff. We're trying to work with everyone in here, the problems, and work. Like you said, we took stuff away from the sides, added to the back. So we're listening, we're hearing, we're trying to make good on that type of stuff. So come out, check us out, support us, bring a friend. You know somebody who hasn't been to AIW. Bring them out. We'd love to see new people. Any parting words before we go, John?
No, I mean, I think, June 17th will be a cool day. Obviously, you got Ohio, during the day. They're going to have, multiple different signings there. And then, AIW in the evening. I think it's a kind of a cool, 1-2 punch for the Youngstown area. I hope we can establish the West Side Bowl as, another stop. You always got to go back again and see if it's, if it was a fluke or not. We fucking packed it the first time. So I'm hopeful that we can do it again and kind of make it a routine, once, 1, 2, 3 time a year sort of thing.
Yeah, I'm anxious to hear the announcement of the other, if you're able to work that out. You tease that, I'm sure people were wondering who it was. Hopefully we can get that done. We'll have a double signing. That'd be great.
Yeah, let's keep the train moving, you know what I mean? And obviously if you're on the email list or on Patreon, I'm not going to announce it here, but you found out the date and the big guest for Absolution this year. So if you're not on the mailing list or Patreon, you're just going to have to wait and see.
Definitely get out there, get on that Patreon, get in the Discord, buy those tickets, because the more tickets sold, the more money John's going to have to maybe sign this second person. So let's get those tickets to Youngstown. Let's sell it out. Anything else before we get out of here?
No, watch Gauntlet for the Gold 16 replay on FITE Plus, and that's another way to help us make a little bit of cash.
Absolutely. So for John Thorne, for myself, Ronald Two Legs, and everyone else at AIW, thank you. We'll see you next time. Thanks.